Hello, everyone. It is currently, I actually haven't checked. This is my first time trying to record this one. Day 592 of Codename Conqueror's development. Um, and yes, I said that in a particular way because normally, when I do the public update videos, I do the couple takes because I want to make it perfect. I want to make it like 2 minutes or less and just like really quick, get to the point, finish it, done. That's why I usually have it ready on my phone, and I've done it so many times I remember the number. But today, I genuinely didn't know the number because this is my first time doing this take, and which leads me to my next point of usually I do this in one take, because this is a lot more impromptu and a lot more casual than like a Twitter public video. So anyway, all that to say that today is day 592, and I had to go and check that real quick. Like I didn't know, and I'm happy. I am very happy because Conqueror has reached version 7. I don't even think I even mentioned that at all this entire time, or like what the versions mean or whatever. Um, it didn't just seem it didn't really seem important to talk about, and I only recently added meaning to the numbers, like now. So anyway, for the first like 3 or 4 versions, I was doing it very meticulously, and like you only get one, like an extra point, if you will, an extra version number, if it's something drastically different or drastically changed. Um, so I was like 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one was like several months apart. Um, for instance, I think version 1 had just base Conqueror. Version 2 had the entire events page. Um, version 3 had all of the event details tabs. Um, yeah. Um, so anyway, we reached version 7. Why is that important? Because version 6, 5 or 6, I'm gonna say 6 because that's the most recent update I have. Version 6 is the version that I gave to a bunch of people, and by a bunch of people I mean one and maybe two. I don't know why I said a bunch of people. For feedback on Conquer, essentially beta testers. And by beta testers, I mean beta tester, singular, because I just wanted their input on how it looked, if it worked okay, so function and fashion. Um, and it was overwhelmingly positive. However, there were a few things that, unbeknownst to me, were inconsistent on other people's phones. So on my phone, looked perfect. It looked beautiful. On other people's phones, the formatting was just all over the place, but only for particular screens. And I was like, interesting. And all the screens did have something in common. So I fixed that. So I made it more vague. Like I didn't set specific like size requirements for a lot of the components. I instead said, "Hey, this percentage or this portion of the screen should be allocated for this component." So instead of an image taking 250 by 250 pixels or something, it would be instead like your height would be now 4.3%. That's a weird exaggeration, but a 4.3% of your screen's width, and your height is going to be 10% of your screen's height. That's how I did a lot of it. And then I had to do a lot of rehaul on the images, a lot of rehaul, because I had to make sure that everything was formatted properly. Squares, the logos were fine, because it's literally a square. I format it to a square, you're done. You'll fit in this little square, and if you don't, it's your problem, not mine. The banners, however, is a lot more nuanced because there's no rule by which an event needs to have their banner. So I pulled a few banners from tournament series and I saw them and I was like, yeah, they're all within the height width ratio of 1 to like 2. Almost exactly 1 to 2. It was between 1.5 and 2. I think the exact decimal was zero point 0.5 to 0.5625. And that was Juicy's actually. Juicy's was the outlier. Um, so I had to account for that. So I had to like all images have to get screened, get the specs of the image, and relate it to the dimensions of the screen. Any long story short, I it's funny how you say long story short when I'm still talking about the long story and I'm not shortening it. Anyway, images was a whole pain, and I finished that kind of today. It was a work in progress throughout the entire way. I thought I had it, then something changed, and I had to fix it again, and then I thought I had it, and then something changed, and I had to fix it again. That process happens all the time, but that's just the development or engineering process, honestly, where you do something, some things go wrong, you go back, you fix it again, you do it, and then some things are still wrong, and you go back and you fix it again. That's just the way it works. I kind of like it because you have to revisit a lot of things, so it keeps you not on your toes, but like keeps you up to date on a lot of different knowledge. Um, so as soon as I get good at like functions and JavaScript and making things optimal logically, I have to go back and like redo the UI, and I have to like ask myself, is this the proper way to do the UI here? And then I have to go back to logic and then back to UI and then all that jazz. So why am I mentioning this? Because um, version 6 had a lot of good things to give to the beta tester. Formatting was off, so I fixed that. Images were a huge problem. Um, Pop-up screens, like what they call it modals, and I hate calling it modal. Um, Actually, modal is not as bad as picker, so it's a modal, which is essentially a pop-up on your screen, um, which is fine. But those were the problem because they're positioned like absolutely dependent on the screen itself. So if I have something positioned 20 pixels from the top of your screen, if you have a big phone, that's gonna be like right next to the top of your screen. But if you have a small phone, it's gonna be like halfway through the screen, and that's what I didn't know. So I had to like again proportion it accordingly. Modals were the only real big issue. Um, I'm digressing a whole lot, but anyway, version 7 fixed all that. It also big big W for Conqueror because I did not expect this to go that well. I reviewed some material, the server, the node backend part of it. I updated it to add post requests. So I have the get requests, which allowed me to receive data from my server. And now I have the post request, which in hindsight I should have added way back when because it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Um, but yeah, I can now post um, the events that I make onto the server perfectly. By perfectly, I mean it took a long time to make it perfect because honestly, guess what? The only things that were troubling me were the images because if you publish it, the image source changes and then um, you have to get the sizes again. You have to set that size and anyway. Um, so that was difficult for me, but I figured it out. So as of today, the app version 7, which I'm going to publish like very soon, it's actually not published yet because I was considering not making version 7 yet, but I feel like it's ready for version 7. To call it version 7 is the new and improved. Everything works. Everything works. There's not a single error message I can find, which is really, really, really impressive for me, and I'm really happy about that. There's two issues. I wrote it down. There's like two small nitpicky issues that I don't even have to address because it's honestly not even that big of a deal, and it's for data that doesn't even affect me in the future. What it is one of the events has doubles, and I think I talked about it this last video. One of the few things I remember from last video, I was going to mention this earlier. Yet again, I forgot what I said the last video, and that's why I'm doing this one. Um, but because version 7 is coming out, or version 7 is being published, I feel comfortable making this update video because I think a lot happened. A lot did happen. So, post request, I can create a full event. It looks fire. It functions like super well. It's just so perfect. It's so awesome. Um, and I can make the event. I can actually post it. It goes onto my server, and I could go and select it again and be like, and look at it all pretty. I had to do permissions. So what can a moderator do? What can a TO do? What can a So the way I set it up was, it's kind of difficult because you can be as nitpicky as you want. You can say, I want a role for a TO, a moderator, a bracket runner, people who could do this, this, this. I want one TO who can change everything, and one TO who can change everything but one thing. It's really weird. So I streamlined it. I said, you know what? There's three properties, maybe more, but for speed brackets, which are almost like challenge, where it's just you make a bracket and go. Um, for speed brackets, you have three. There's a TO, who is the organizer of the event. You cannot change this role. Nobody else can be a TO. Only one person can be a TO, and that is the creator of the event. There's moderators who have similar powers to TOs, but except for like the TO exclusive powers, which is creating the event, assigning permissions, and adding moderators and whatnot. Moderators can do everything except for um, adding other moderators and assigning permissions. So they can't assign their own permissions. Um, and there's an aid. An aid is exclusively for brackets. So only they can manipulate the brackets in terms of score reporting. I'm considering seeding and adding attendees. I don't know if I'm going to do that because uh, a difficult query of mine was if you have what if somebody's a moderator but not an aide? Can they still manipulate the bracket? Because in theory they should. Because if they're a moderator, you're a higher level than the aide. You should have even more access to everything. But that would be a little bit more complicated for logic. Be like, oh, if you have the moderator role, you cannot have the aide role, and vice versa, or kind of vice versa. And if you have the TO role, not the moderator, the logic didn't work out. So I just said, you know what? Just hit the checkbox. Just hit the checkbox. Um, if you want them to be a moderator and manipulate brackets, just give them the aid role as well. It's as simple as that. Um, I revamped a lot of the UI. A lot of it is a lot more modular and a lot cleaner. It's so cool. It's everything. It's just I can talk forever about it, but I'm gonna stop talking about it. I'm gonna continue talking about version 7. The reason why I'm making this update video. Um, I was actually gonna go on a tangent on the things I had to fix. Oh yeah, I already finished that list. Never mind. The doubles thing. I'm ranting because I'm excited. That happens. I'm sorry, but like I said, this app right now, it works. It looks awesome while doing it, and it only has very minor things to quote unquote fix that don't even affect it in the future because in the future the sources of those errors won't even exist. Um, yeah. The only problem is I can't exactly show people it. And you might be wondering, like, yeah, it's a secret project. Oh, I mean, like, if I give someone the beta, because they don't have access to my server, they won't be able to view the events from the server or post events to the server. Unless they're like in my house. Yeah. Which is probably what I'm gonna be doing. I'm probably gonna be hosting something at my house to be like, hey guys, let's just try it. Let's just see how it goes. Um, so I think that'd be really cool. Um, what else was I gonna say? So yeah, that's the worry I have. Worry. That's the reason the sources of the potential errors that don't mean a whole lot. Those are necessary right now because when I give the beta to somebody and they don't have access to the server, well, they can't see those events, so they can't view what a bracket would look like. And that's why I needed these hard-coded events into the app so that these like I have okay, to explain it very clearly. These are the events. Notice how there's 3 copies of the same one. The bottom 2 are from the server. The top one is from the app itself. This is hard-coded. This is the server. It's the same thing, but where it pulls the information from is different. So I needed this because if somebody tests it, they won't have these two because they won't have a server. They won't have my server. They only have this. So this has the small error. Technically, it's this one. Um, so that's why I need it there. But they can't post events. So if I post an event, you'll see it at the edge of this. It'll keep going over there. And it just looks really awesome. And I'm really happy for myself. Which means another list item from the checklist is gone. Now, the only things I have left to do, if to be comfortable and confident in like publishing this app because I was so worried about posting data to the server. I was so worried about it because I didn't know what I was going to do. I had to go back and relearn Node and relearn my backend development and what the heck I was doing. And literally, all I did was last night, I looked at my code and I was like, oh yeah, I remember how this works. I added the function and it worked. And I was like, sick. Remember when I said, oh, I didn't. So I made the Twitter public video, right? I made the Twitter public Conqueror update, and usually when I make a public one, I also make a not public one for all the details that I can't talk about in a public fashion. Well, I didn't do that last time, so I only had the public update. Um, so now I can talk about the what I couldn't talk about then. I said, in a perfect world, my release window would be late March to late May, so like a 2 month window. And there were some people who got excited. That warmed my heart. Oh my God. When people were mentioning the tweet, so I tweeted the video saying, the release date, I'm a perfectionist and beta testers. It was a small like public update video. I already mentioned it. This video actually. But yeah, I didn't think it'd get that much attention, but it got a pretty good amount of attention, and people were actually excited for it, and that warmed my heart, man. It's so much because these people don't even know what I'm talking about, and I'm just some random man. I'm just some kid, some guy. Um, I am 23 now, so I can't call myself a kid anymore. I usually call myself a kid even when I'm 20, but I'm 23 now, so I have to call myself a guy. So I'm just some guy. Um, and when I said I'm so happy, man. I'm just so happy that people are happy for its success and they are excited to see it come out because I've been talking about it like it's the greatest new thing since sliced bread, which it is, by the way. Um, this is gonna be so cool. Conqueror is gonna be so cool. Um, so in the update video, I said late March to late May. Late March if everything goes literally perfectly. I didn't expect things to go perfectly, but here we are, things going perfectly. Um, Small issues, but those small issues are within the realm of expectation. I'm expecting to get troubled a lot on like purchasing my own server. By purchasing my own server, I mean like getting a provider and getting the space for my own server. Um, so yeah, my next steps. At this pace, I could finish it in late March, and it'll be a lot earlier than I thought it would. But my next big steps, Conqueror's big steps. Ready? We have big steps for release and big steps for beta. Beta, guess what, pal? It's done. Kind of. I was planning on doing like an update video specifically for when the beta for Conqueror is done, and I was gonna make it a whole thing like, oh my god, my beta's done. I'm so happy, like it's finally here. But I don't know if it's that black and white as it is done. It probably is, because I could say like right now, this is done. But even this has some issues that I'm not comfortable with. So beta is not done. Not yet, at least. It's close. One could classify it as being completed. Anyway, that's besides the point. So big list and beta list. Beta list. Oh, that's not much at all. So, I only have like 2 bugs. When I'm looking at a bracket with pools, right? And you look at say pool A1 to pool A2, the bracket doesn't reset. So if I pan the bracket to like grand finals and I go back to the previous pool, it will start the same position, the same panning movement as what you had earlier. So if your pool doesn't have a grand finals and you moved over to grand finals, so guess what? You see a blank screen because there's nothing there. And which means you can't move the bracket because the bracket's not there for you to swipe, and that's an issue. I'm glad I found that issue earlier. Placeholder data. I have to spend like a day just doing hard-coded values. So I think I already told you guys that I have to do a lot of I have to type the values for every single possibility for every single bracket setup from 4 players to 64 players because that's what um, every page can handle is up to a 64-man bracket at one time. Obviously, I can handle like more. I can handle more complicated brackets, obviously, but I'm saying 64-man before the app will force you to have pools. So if you have 65-man tournament, it will force you to have 2 separate pools of like 30 plus men tournament each. 64 is just a limit for that. Because I put that limit there honestly because looking at a bracket on mobile for a 64-man tournament is a little bit overwhelming as it is. So having any more than that is just not okay. Um, so the set data of if I have a loser of a set where you'll see loser of blank versus loser of blank. Well, I gotta have those in, and I currently do not have that. Right now I'm pretty sure the placeholder I put in there was loser of TBA because I didn't do it yet, and I didn't feel like doing it because I thought it was boring. Which I'm gonna have to do eventually, and that's one of the beta goals. Holy crap, I'm digressing a lot. It's 21 minutes now. I'm sorry. Um, okay, so everything else is not important. The beta bugs is just loser placeholder, bracket reset panning, and user account tab, which I haven't done that yet. It hasn't exactly been the most important thing. So that's next. And that's why I don't need the account tab in the beta. I just need it in the app release. So that's not even a beta thing. And then oh, that's not even a big checklist either. Huh. Fascinating. So I'm a lot closer to release than I thought. I'm looking at this list and I'm like, yeah, all those could be solved in like a day. I'm laughing because it's so surreal of how close it is. Anyway, I will. This is a special update video because this is gonna be like the. I decided I'm going to keep going and talking about it because I like talking about it, and I hope you guys do too. I don't know if or when you will ever see this, but if you have come this far, thank you. I appreciate you. I don't think anybody ever takes like any interest in these kind of videos. Um, but on the off chance somebody does, in case somebody wanted to see my development process and how I went through the entire thing. Because if you think about it, look how far I've come. From the very beginning, I had zero idea what I was doing, zero idea of what it would need to have done, and zero idea what it could be. I didn't know a thing, and I just learned. I wanted it, and I learned how to do it, and I learned how to make it happen. It's as simple as that. That is my work ethic. I don't stop working. If I want something, I just kind of do it. If I want a bracket, I have to be careful with my words here. If I want an event manager mobile app for esports community that is better than a pre-existing one that people complain about, then I'm gonna make it happen. And if no one else will, I'll be by myself. That is okay. And I think I've shown that I don't care if I'm by myself. I'm gonna do it anyway. Because it's what I want to do. So the big checklist is because I looked at the big checklist, and the big checklist says create a full event, and that's not going to happen for a while. That's not going to happen even for the base release, because the base release is not going to have um, full event creation details and stuff. It's just going to have the speed brackets. So that's how I know that the list is a little bit outdated. But all I have to do, when I think about it, all I have to do is the loosest placeholders, setting up a server, search menus, fill in the rest of Conqueror's data in terms of like PRs and whatnot, which will also require me adjusting the search bar for Conqueror. Did I ever say user account? Oh, and branding. That's the fifth step. Branding, because I had to brand my app. I have to have an actual welcome screen. I have to have an actual like login feature, and like people's accounts do something. So this month might just be user account. It might take a whole month. It might take a week. I don't know. But that's my next step. Is I have most of this perfectly done and accurate. Even permissions, which is I didn't expect it to do that well. But I'm gonna focus my next efforts on the user account tab and making all the preferences. I'm planning on making the whole color palette malleable, so I can have anybody just be like, you know what? I want my Conqueror to be blue. I don't like the red color scheme. I want it to be blue, and they can do that. They absolutely can. I want them to be able to have that kind of customization. So if they don't like dark mode, if they don't like light mode, if they don't like green mode, try yellow mode. I don't care. But I have to learn how to do that. So 5 steps for Conqueror's release. I thought it was like 16, but it's only 5. And those 5 don't exactly take all that long. It's just a little bit tedious and need a little bit know-how. Half the time, it isn't even me doing it. It's me learning how to do it and then doing it well, right? It's always the step of learn how to do it, practice it, implement it, optimize it. And I went through that. I went through that process so many times, so many times. I'm sure it's going to happen in the future as well. I'm sure this isn't even going to look like this in a year from now, assuming that I'm still doing it a year from now, which I probably will because why would I not be? Um, so there's not much else to do. Fix some bugs, fill some data. If I fill all the data I need to fill by like the end of tomorrow, which I honestly can, beta's done. It's just done. Um, very, very little left to do. Clean it up, clean up the code, make it optimized, like I said, like just go through every single file and make sure there isn't any unnecessary code. Like I'm importing a wrong statement or importing a statement I didn't use yet. Um, very little left to do. And then give it to the beta testers. Because obviously I have to have like a month buffer between giving it to the beta testers, getting their feedback, and then fixing it again. Because I only talked to Cact like twice, and um, he already gave me a absurd amount of feedback. I don't even want to say I'm ranting because I gotta stop apologizing for stuff like that. The whole point of the video is for me to rant, and if anybody wants to listen to me rant, they can. So I shouldn't be apologizing for the whole purpose of the video in the first place. That's like doing a let's play and be like, sorry guys, I like playing games. You don't, whatever. Um, I am very happy. I am very happy with how things turned out. All I gotta do, user account tab is my next focus. Clean up some. I'd like to finish some placeholder data by end of tomorrow. If I work diligently, I can finish it tomorrow. And I say diligently because it takes a long time. A long time. Oh, I just remembered I have to do those active sets. Oh, see again, it's not even necessary. It's just it doesn't do anything. It's just an added UI feature. So what I'm talking about is when you have a set and you have to activate, like start the set. Like you have 2 players and be like, I'm gonna start the set on setup number 1, go. Well, the UI is there, but the logic isn't. So I have the UI to say the score, start the set, setup number, submit the scores, all that jazz. I have that UI there, but the logic is only present for submitting a score, for uploading that data. I don't have the logic for starting the set. So what does the start set actually do? Like, in terms of code, not much. All it really does is indicate to the user that it is different from the rest, right? So my plan is to have an extra attribute or property of the set card object or function or whatever, the function component. I'm going to use some jargon here. Of the set card function component, I have to add an extra property for active active, activated, something like that, selected. It's going to be active. I have to add an add property for active. I have to make sure that start set activates the set, which means it has to update that property to the opposite of the Boolean, re-upload that set so that the event can be updated on the server so everybody else can see it. Maybe start a timer. That's fancy details I need to work on. Need to like maybe do. Um, only no. And if the set is active, change the color of the set so like it is distinguished from the rest. So if I go to if I go to quick bracket, okay. If I go to this bracket and one of these sets is active, how about instead of it being gray and the numbers are blue or whatever, what if everything's just green, right? If it showcases like, hey, it's green, it's active. And if it's on stream, what if it's like red? Something like that. Or purple, because purple's Twitch. So that's the current idea, but I have to do that. And I forgot until right now. Thanks, Kevin. Okay, so again, little things. And this is why it's hard to not be a perfectionist, because in my head, that's mandatory. Like, if I have the button for starting a set, you need to have that button do something. Otherwise, get rid of the button. Which means I also need to go for the setup. And how do you do that? It's not easy. But I could just leave it out, and I'm sure no one would blame me for leaving it out. Like, if they don't even need to see they don't need to see a set that has started or not. But for me, I'm trying to hold myself to that higher standard for people like that just really enjoy the UI. It wasn't even. For people that just really enjoy the UI of it and the functionality of it, I need that to be on a level I am happy with. And right now, I am not. I'm setting myself up. I'm trying to be as future-proof as possible as well. That's also very difficult, and I'm not sure what I'm doing. Like, there's so many details. I mean, that's just coding, right? That's just programming. This is all in details, and especially by myself, so I can't exactly outsource this to anybody. I can't delegate to anybody. And with my level of like perfectionism, work ethic, and micromanaging, I probably couldn't even trust it with anybody else. Because if I say, hey, can you build this component for me? Can you make the set active? Can you make the start set do something? Then what if they do it wrong? What if they do it not well enough? What if they do it better than me? What if they well, obviously if they do it better than me, props to them. Good job. Cool. But if it's not in my syntax, if it's not written by me and I don't understand it, then I feel like it wasn't mine. I feel like I didn't have a part in it. And obviously I didn't because I wasn't the one to do it. But that's an issue I have. I'm a lot more okay with delegating things I genuinely don't know how to do. So that's why branding, graphic design, that I can outsource. That I can delegate to other people, be like, hey, here's some money, give me a cool graphic. Hey, here's some money, give me a cool name, give me some branding. Hey, here's some money, be my social media manager. That I'm fine with because I don't have my toe in those waters. I don't care for those waters. But in the programming, in the part where I'm supposed to shine, if I have a team with me, then it's like if I'm personally invested in this, I wouldn't feel as okay with like sharing the development. I was almost gonna say glory, but I don't care about that. I don't care about like sharing the shine of victory. I care about like what if something goes wrong and I have to ask the guy. I'm just scared of incompetence. What if I ask the guy like, why is this wrong? And he goes, oh, I thought I did it right. Be like, now I have to go in there anyway and do it again. And just, I'm so worried over nothing. And thankfully, I don't have to worry about that because I'm working by myself. But it is a word. I don't even know what I was talking about, man. I'm just talking for the sake of talking. It's actually 11 o'clock. I should eat dinner. For those who don't know, I've been on a meal plan for the past like 10 months, and I highly encourage anybody and everybody to join me in the meal plan. And all I have had the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day without fail, almost without fail, for the past 10 months. Since April 24th. Actually, it's almost a year now. So since April 24th, I've changed my entire life. I used to only eat like once a day, ever. Barely once a day. A sandwich and that was it. And now I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. And it changed my life, and that's why I got so much more work done in Conqueror this past year is because I've been like getting more energy and I have water. Drinking a lot of water. Speaking of, make sure you guys hydrate right the frick now. Delicious. But I think I ranted on for a long time. This is actually probably the longest video I've ever done because we had a lot to talk about and I had a lot to rant about to get off my chest. Again, I don't have anybody I can talk to. I don't have anybody I can talk to about this with because it's a secret project A, and B, even the people who know about it don't know about it. You know, like they don't know the programming, they don't know the struggles, they don't know the difficulties, the success. So if I say, "Oh my God, this app is so stupid. Like, why did it change this property and then not this one? And why does it keep re-rendering? Why is the screen doing this? Or why doesn't this function work?" Like, I can't talk about that because nobody else gets it. And even the programming friends I have, hardly anybody ever does like React Native, um, mobile development in general. So it's very difficult to relate to somebody or to talk to somebody about it. It's just it's just exhausting, man. And it just builds up inside you, and then that's why I feel like these videos are getting longer and longer, is because I'm getting more comfortable talking about it. Um, just it's sad. I wanted, and I was conditioned earlier. I talked to my friend about it, and to no response. And later, in our friend groups, when just talking about it, he would talk about how I would rant about it to him, and he would have nothing to say, so he would just say nothing at all. And I felt sad because that's essentially him saying, I don't care. And you're wasting your breath speaking to me about it, which conditioned me to believe that I can't talk about it or shouldn't talk about it unless people know what I'm going through. So I haven't talked about it to hardly anyone since, um, with the exceptions of very, very brief, simplistic summaries like, hey, beta's almost done. Hey, I did something cool. But I stopped talking about it, and it feels kind of sad because that I felt like I had to do that. Nobody gets it, and it's very difficult to find somebody to get it. Um, and I can't exactly like thank those people on Twitter like publicly, because if I do, then people raise an eyebrow or two about right hand. There we go. Hmm. Conqueror is a coding pro. Well, they know it's a coding project, but Conqueror is a coding project for and I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. You know, when I was younger, I always wanted to have a job that I couldn't talk about because I thought that'd be so cool. Imagine working for not a secret government organization, but like imagine working for NASA or SpaceX on some experimental technology that you can't talk about because of like secrecy or all that jazz, top secret information kind of thing. I thought that was so cool. So cool. I'm working on a particular project and I can't tell anybody. Oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an engineer. What do you do? Can't tell you. Secret. That'd be just really cool. But this isn't even in the same ballpark. This isn't even in the same universe. And I'm struggling with it. Maybe it isn't all it's cracked out to be. Having a secret job that you can't tell people about because it's that cool. However, there's a difference. Here, I am quite literally by myself, like all by myself. There's no one to share it with. But if I were in like a secret government organization working on some secret new rocket or whatever, then you have your fellow engineers to talk with, right? You have your fellow engineers to talk with and work through it, and it just you're not lonely. You're lonely together, and that's not the same thing. So I feel like I would be fine if I had two or three other people to talk about it with. Um, yeah. This is I watched recently. This is turning into like a little bit of a more personal anecdote, but that's fine because I feel like just going on with it. I watched a Mr. Beast interview recently, and he was talking about how when he was younger and he was doing YouTube and he was trying to make YouTube a thing, like he was doing it all the time, and all he would ever talk about, think about, do, live, breathe was YouTube. Everything, every fiber of his being was about YouTube. And everybody thought he was so crazy. Like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you putting all your effort into that? Like, Why YouTube of all things? Like he doesn't talk about anything else but YouTube. He doesn't think about anything else but YouTube. But it's just that work ethic, that mindset of nothing but the grind. That's all you can focus on. That's all you fixate on. That's what like successful people, that's what makes successful people. That's an attribute of every successful person is that like relentlessness. Um, and it was so nice to, I don't want to say relate to that because I feel like I could relate to that on some level, but not maybe not to his degree. Maybe I have. Maybe this is an example of that I have related to his level on yeah. But it was so nice to see that like not everybody's gonna see it your way, and not everybody has your same drive. And that's not a bad thing, that's not a good thing. It's just whatever you make of it. And what he made of it was okay, if these people don't see what I'm seeing from YouTube, if people don't believe in me or have faith in me, or they just think I'm crazy, then they are no longer my friends. Simple as that. They just cut them off and keep doing what I want. Keep doing what I want to do. And yeah. So hopefully when I can make this app published and people like it, hopefully people like it. I mean, everything comes down to downloads. If I can show people, hey, I have X number of downloads, people will care. Maybe people will see it and be like, hey, this kid knows what he's doing. And he's has the determination, the work ethic to do what like to set out to do what he wants to do. I want to publish this app and for people to think, okay, this is a guy who knows what he's doing. This is a guy who is not afraid to take what he wants. Um, I don't want to use that phrase. I don't want to say take what he wants. I say work for what he wants. So I want to publish this app and I want people to be like, we want you on our team. Simple as that. You have proven yourself. We want you on our team. That's yeah. Conqueror is a big fancy resume. I mean, aren't all projects like a big old resume, huh? If you do something extraordinary, if you if you perform something extraordinary, if you build something extraordinary, you use it as an example of your efforts, as an example of your proficiency and your skill. If I make an excellent sword, I'm gonna show off that sword, be like, hey guys, I made this sword. I'm an excellent blacksmith. Guys, I made this by myself in my room for 2 years because no one else would. And I was the only one who said, you know what? I want to make it better. I want to do it. And I will learn how. I just thought of my name is Indigo Montoya. That's for those who don't know, that's a reference to a good, very good movie called Princess Bride. Um, check it out. So that's I'm gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop. If you made it to the end, which I don't think anybody has, but if you surprise me, if you did in fact make it to the end, because it's just nice to listen to me, um, please let me know. uh, I'm setting both of I was gonna say both of us, but not really. I'm set. Let's set us up for some heartwarming feelings. So if you made it this far, I want you to type in the. I assume this is gonna be like YouTube. Type in the chat or DM me if you know me. DM me something saying like again. I remember I did this last time. Something positive, like. Did it? I was gonna say the word wonderful, but I think I already said that. Wait, no, I think the word was joy. What's a good word? What's a good like um I don't want to be a big word. I don't want to be like perseverance. I want to be like I can't think of a word, man. I can't think of a word. Okay. You know what? You know what? Okay. What I always say is there's a few like verbal habits I enjoy having and I try to encourage it is when I meet somebody or when my standard greeting is boo. like a ghost when he announces himself is like, boo. I thought that was adorable, so I kept using it for like 4 years now or something. Um, when anything intrigues me, or when I'm like genuinely stunned, like, wow, cool. I always say just fascinating because I think it's fascinating. So the word is fascinating. If you made it this far, if you know, DM me if you know me. Comment onto YouTube because I just want to see if anybody actually makes it this far. I should have put it like in the middle of the videos to see if anybody actually watched it. But fascinating. So anyway, it's 45 minutes. I was talking for almost an hour. Do you know how much wasted time that is? When I could have been doing something else, like building the user account tab. Man. Anyway, so that's my next step. Conqueror's next step is I'm going to use this handy dandy whiteboard to build this. You can kind of see it. That's what I'm going to do. To make it as pretty as possible. Because I have to account for all the settings, all the options, all the... Anyway. That is right. It is finally coming to an end. I am finally going to stop talking. This is more like an event session. This wasn't so much an update. This was like an event session. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is Codename Conqueror, day 592, signing out. And as always, until next time.